When it comes to cinema, there are good movies, great movies, and then, in a league entirely of its own, there's the Godfather trilogy. You know that classic image of the elegant mobster, speaking softly and making offers you can't refuse? It all started here. Before Don Vito Corleone, gangsters were seen as nothing more than street thugs. After him, they became sophisticated legends. But this saga goes far beyond shootouts and horseheads in beds. At its core, it's a brutal family tragedy about the weight of leadership and how absolute power can eat away at a man's soul. We witness the chilling transformation of Michael from a humble war hero to a cold, ruthless tyrant in a character arc that defined Al Pacino's career forever. Today, we're taking a look back at all three films in Francis Ford Coppola's masterpiece. We'll see how loyalty in the Corleone family is the most expensive currency there is, and understand why, even decades later, this story still sets the gold standard for every crime film that followed. So get ready, because today, we pay our respects to the family. It all begins with a party atmosphere in the Corleone family backyard. You know the type. A stereotypical Italian wedding. Enough food to feed an army, music, and packed to the rafters with people. The big boss's daughter, Connie, is marrying a guy named Carlo, but while everyone is outside getting hammered and dancing, the host is locked in his office, working. That's Don Vito Corleone, better known as the Godfather, a powerful mob boss.
That I cannot do.
With him is his adopted son Tom, who also serves as the family's lawyer. The rule is clear. No Sicilian can refuse a request on the day of his daughter's wedding, so there's a line out the office door. First comes Bonacera, an undertaker thirsty for revenge because someone harmed his daughter, and then Johnny Fontaine shows up. Johnny is a Frank Sinatra type, singer and actor, begging Vito to help him land a movie role that will save his career. The Godfather listens with terrifying calm and decides to help. As soon as the party wraps up, Vito sends Tom straight to Los Angeles to have a word with Jack Woltz, the studio head blocking Johnny. Tom tries to be diplomatic, uses some smooth talk, but Woltz is as stubborn as a mule and tells him to get lost. He digs his heels in and says there's no way in hell he's giving Johnny the part. Bad move, pal. That's when the Corleones decide to make Woltz an offer he can't refuse. The result? The next morning, Woltz wakes up in his fancy mansion, stretches in bed, and when he pulls back the silk sheets, he finds the head of his prize racehorse right there, soaking everything in blood. The message was sent, and it was brutal. Back in the concrete jungle of New York, things start to get ugly. A gangster named Sollozzo shows up wanting to drag the Corleone family into the narcotics trade. The guy has already locked in deals with two rival families, the Barzinis and the Tattaglias, but he needs Vito's political protection and cash to make it flow. A tense meeting ensues. Sonny, who only thinks about money and power, and Tom think expanding the business is a good idea. But Don Vito is old school. He's wary of drugs and thinks it will ruin his standing with the politicians. So, he gives Sollozzo a resounding no. To ensure Sollozzo doesn't try anything funny, Vito sends his grim enforcer, Luca Brasi, to investigate the guy. But the plan goes south, and Luca is only history, and Sollozzo isn't playing around. Shortly after, he sends a hitman to take out Vito, while the Godfather is casually buying fruit at a street stand. The old man gets shot, hits the ground, and chaos ensues. Miraculously, Vito survives, but he's left in critical condition at the hospital. With the father out of commission, Sonny takes charge, and naturally, the atmosphere in the family gets incredibly heavy. Here we focus on the youngest son, Michael. He's the good kid of the family, a World War II hero who swore up and down he'd never get involved in the mob rackets. He's in town for the wedding, accompanied by his girlfriend, Kay Adams, who is a total civilian and has nothing to do with this world. Michael is like a civilian in the middle of a war zone, but life is full of irony. When he goes to visit his father at the hospital, he realizes the place is deserted. The guards who were supposed to be protecting Vito have vanished. Michael instantly realizes heavy trouble is coming and his father is a sitting duck for another hit. In a moment of pure tension, Michael hides his father and bluffs, pretending to be an armed guard outside the hospital to scare off the hitmen arriving by car. Soon after, the police arrive, but Captain McCluskey, a cop corrupt to the bone and in cahoots with Sollozzo, interrogates Michael regarding the guards. Without warning, he slugs the kid in the face, breaking his jaw and knocking him out cold. That was the last straw. Michael wakes up out for blood. Days later, there's a family meeting, and to everyone's surprise, the good kid volunteers to handle the situation. He receives some advice and a planted gun. The plan is bold. He sets up a dinner at a quiet Italian restaurant with Sollozzo and Captain McCluskey, pretending he wants to negotiate peace. In the middle of dinner, with tension you could cut with a knife, Michael excuses himself to the bathroom, retrieves the hidden gun, returns to the table, and bam, kills them both right there without hesitating. The war hero has just crossed the point of no return. Since he just killed a police captain and a crime boss, New York is too hot for him. Michael flees to Sicily, his father's homeland, to wait for the dust to settle. Meanwhile, the newspapers run headlines about the bloody war that has erupted between the mob families. Don Vito finally returns home from the hospital, still recovering, and is devastated to learn that Michael, of all people, has dirtied his hands and entered the life of crime. While Vito is sidelined, Sonny and Tom debate their next move. Sonny, always with a short fuse, wants total war against the Tattaglias, who are backing Sollozzo. Tom tries to be the voice of reason, but it's hard to hold back Sonny's impulse. Things completely go off the rails because of a domestic issue. Sonny sees his sister Connie with a black eye and finds out her husband Carlo has been beating her. Sonny's blood boils. He finds Carlo in the street and gives him a historic beating, even using a trash can lid to thrash the guy. But Carlo doesn't learn. After beating Connie again, she calls her brother crying desperately. Sonny enters a blind rage, jumps in his car, and speeds off to tear his brother-in-law apart. But he makes a fatal mistake. He leaves without bodyguards. It's a trap. When Sonny stops at a toll booth, the car in front blocks the way. And out of nowhere, several gunmen hidden in the booths open fire. It's a hail of bullets. The car is turned into Swiss cheese, and Sonny stumbles out before falling dead on the asphalt. A brutal scene showing that no one is safe. While all hell is breaking loose in New York, life in Sicily looks like a romance movie. Michael is living in hiding in a picturesque village and falls in love at first sight with a local girl named Apollonia. He courts her the old-fashioned way, marries her, and everything seems perfect. But happiness is short-lived. The mob's reach is long. They try to kill Michael with a car bomb, but it's Apollonia who dies in the explosion. Michael watches the woman he loves explode right in front of him. It is tragedy after tragedy. Back in New York, Vito, even with a broken heart over Sonny's death, decides to put an end to this war. He calls a meeting with the heads of the 5 families. In a gesture of strategic humility, he promises he won't seek vengeance for Sonny's death, provided they guarantee Michael can return to the States without a scratch. The families agree, and the pact is sealed.
I will not be the one to break the peace we've made here today.
A year later, Michael returns, but he's not the same boy. He looks up Kay, the ex-girlfriend he hasn't seen in 2 years. He tells her he's working for his father now, but swears to her that the Corleone family will become completely legitimate soon. He asks for her hand in marriage, and although suspicious, she accepts. With Sonny dead and Vito too old to handle the strain, Michael takes over as head of the family, and he comes in changing everything. The plan is to move the Corleone business to Las Vegas and enter the casino industry. He is cold and calculating. He demotes Tom, removing him from the position of consigliere, which leaves his adopted brother quite upset. Vito stays on, serving as an informal advisor to his son, but age takes its toll. One quiet afternoon, playing with his grandson Anthony in the tomato garden, the great Don Vito Corleone suffers a heart attack and dies. The end of an era. Now Michael is alone at the top. Connie and Carlo ask him to be the godfather at their son's baptism. And this is where one of the most brilliant and macabre sequences in the story unfolds. While Michael is in church, all dressed up, participating in the sacred ceremony, and renouncing Satan on behalf of his godson, his hitmen are spread across the city, executing a bloody plan. Under Michael's orders, the heads of all the other New York mob families are brutally assassinated simultaneously. A shot in the elevator, a shot in a revolving door, a shot on a massage table, a true purge. When Michael leaves the church, he gets confirmation. The job is done. In a matter of minutes, he has eliminated all competition and become the undisputed crime boss of the city. With the path clear, the The Corleones are ready to move to Vegas, but Michael still has some loose ends to tie up at home. He needs to deal with two traitors. The first is Tessio, his father's old partner who is conspiring with the Barzini family behind his back. Michael has the guy taken out without mercy. The second is even more personal, his brother-in-law Carlo. Michael knows it was Carlo who set Sonny up for that ambush at the toll booth. In an icy confrontation, Michael corners Carlo. He tells him he knows everything, and shortly after, Carlo is garroted inside a car.
Hello, Carlo.
The vengeance for his brother's death is complete. Days later, everything comes to a head. Connie goes into hysterics, screaming and accusing Michael of killing her husband. Kay watches it all, shocked. When Connie leaves, Kay confronts Michael and asks if it's true. Michael, with the boldest straight face in the world, looks his wife in the eyes and delivers a firm, yet somewhat dubious, no. Kay seems to believe him, or at least wants to, and leaves to fix a drink. But in the final scene, as Kay looks on from the hallway, she sees several subordinates entering Michael's office. They greet him with reverence, kissing his hand and calling him Don Corleone. The office door closes slowly in Kay's face, shutting her out of that dark world. And just like that, we realize that Michael, who swore he'd never be part of this, has transformed into exactly what he feared most: the new Godfather. In the second film of the trilogy, we reunite with Michael Corleone, and the vibe has shifted. If he was the rebellious son before, the very first scene makes it clear who calls the shots. He appears having his ring kissed, in the supreme position of Godfather. His posture is king-like, but we soon realize that heavy is the head that wears the crown. But hold your horses, because the movie takes an insane time jump back to 1901. We're in Sicily, meeting Vito Andolini, a 9-year-old kid about to have the worst day of his life. He's walking in a funeral procession with his mother, and the mood is heavy. His father was whacked by a local boss named Don Ciccio, a guy with zero charm. During the procession, Ciccio's henchmen, who look like they're playing a real-life FPS, open fire on the hills and kill Paolo, Vito's older brother. Basically, the family is being deleted from the map. Vito's desperate mother takes the boy to Don Ciccio's house and begs for her son's life. The boss refuses, saying the boy will grow up to seek revenge, which, between us, is a spoiler for every mob movie ever. Out of options, the mother pulls a knife on the Don's throat, screaming for Vito to run. It's a tense scene, total heroic sacrifice style. Vito looks back just in time to see his mother take a shotgun blast to the chest. The kid runs like there's no tomorrow, escapes the manhunt led by Ciccio, and, with help from friends, gets smuggled on a boat to America. He arrives at Ellis Island, where the immigration officer, probably too lazy to spell, changes his last name to Corleone. To top off the welcome package, the kid spends 3 months in quarantine with smallpox. Calling it a rough start is an understatement. Cut back to the future, the 1950s, Lake Tahoe. Michael is throwing a first communion party for his son, Anthony. But as always, a mobster party is 10% cake and 90% shady backroom deals. He's dealing with Senator Pat Geary, a corrupt politician who spews prejudice and slurs against Italians while trying to extort Michael for casino licenses. Michael, cold as an iceberg, rejects the blackmail. The senator leaves with that smirk of someone planning trouble. The line of problems keeps growing. Johnny Ola shows up with a message from Hyman Roth, a Miami partner backing the casino business who wants to expand. Soon after, Frankie Pentangeli walks in, an old-school New York mobster who hates Roth and thinks Michael is siding with the enemy. Michael ignores the warnings, and Pentangeli leaves the office fuming. And the family? A mess. Connie, the sister, arrives at the party looking like a Christmas tree. She's dripping in so much jewelry, accompanied by her boyfriend, Merle. She only cares about asking for money to travel on a luxury liner the Queen, and wants Michael's blessing to marry. Michael, in full overprotective and controlling brother mode, shuts it all down. As for Fredo, poor Fredo. His wife is drunk, making a scene at dinner, and dropping racist comments about the family. It's that awkward Christmas dinner vibe, but with dangerous people. Later, Michael dances with his wife, Kay. She's pregnant with their third child, but she doesn't look happy. She calls him out for not going legitimate like he promised. The universe's answer to this confrontation comes right after. In the bedroom, while Kay sleeps, machine gun bullets shatter the window. Michael dives to the floor, shielding her. They almost punch their ticket.
Make away, the drape's open.
Michael realizes it was an inside job. He puts Tom, his adopted brother and consigliere, and the only reliable NPC in this game, in charge and says he's going to investigate. We go back in time. New York, 1917. Young Vito now works in a grocery store and watches Don Fanucci, a local mobster, strutting through the neighborhood and extorting everyone. He's the classic neighborhood bully. One night during dinner, a neighbor throws a bundle through Vito's window and asks him to hide it. Vito opens it and sees guns. Later, the neighbor, a guy named Clemenza, introduces himself. A friendship begins, but life sends the bill. Vito loses his job at the grocery store because the owner was forced to hire Fanucci's nephew. Back in the 50s, Michael's investigation is in full swing. He goes to Miami to see Hyman Roth and tries to bluff. He says he knows it was Pentangeli who tried to kill him, and that his partnership with Roth remains solid. Roth agrees when Michael says Pentangeli is a dead man walking. Later, Michael visits Pentangeli in New York and says the exact opposite, that he knows Roth ordered the hit. He asks Pentangeli to help with his revenge, but the plot thickens. Fredo gets a mysterious call suggesting he's involved in the mess, and when Pentangeli goes to meet the Rosado brothers, they try to him. He survives, but ends up in police custody, thinking Michael betrayed him. The scene shifts to Havana, Cuba. Michael, Roth, and the cream of the crop of American businessmen are in a meeting with the Cuban president. Roth wants to invest heavily in the island, but Michael, always analytical, is worried about some bearded rebels in the mountains. Fredo arrives in Cuba, bringing the bag of money, literally. Michael tells his brother that Roth tried to kill him. Fredo plays dumb, claims he doesn't know Roth or Johnny Ola, but later, at a depraved party, Fredo lets it slip that he does know the guys. Michael's radar goes off immediately. New Year's Eve in Cuba is historic. While the party rages at the presidential palace, Michael's assassins make their move. Johnny Ola is on a balcony. They try to Roth in the hospital with a pillow, but the police arrive and kill the assassin before he can finish the job. At the party, midnight strikes. Michael holds Fredo's face, kisses him, and delivers the line that sends shivers down your spine. "I know it was you, Fredo. You broke my heart."
I know it was you, Fredo. You broke my heart.
At that moment, Castro's rebels take the city, the government falls, the president resigns, and Havana turns into pandemonium. Michael flees amidst the chaos. Upon arriving in Nevada, the news is terrible. Roth survived, and Kay suffered a miscarriage. The empire is crumbling. Flashback to old New York, Vito, Clemenza, and Tessio have formed a gang. They're stealing rugs and furniture, operating in the underworld. Don Fanucci finds out and wants a cut of the profits. Tessio and Clemenza want to pay to avoid trouble, but Vito, with that terrifying calmness, says to leave it to him. He promises to handle it, but asks them to remember this favor. Vito meets Fanucci, pays a pittance of what was asked, and follows the guy into a religious street festival. Using the noise of the festival and fireworks as cover, Vito kills Fanucci at the entrance of his apartment. With total cold blood, he returns home and kisses his newborn son, little Michael, poetic and dark. In the 50s, the walls are closing in. Congress is investigating the mafia. A former associate of Pentangeli testifies but doesn't give up Michael directly. Michael visits his mother and asks if his father Vito was afraid of losing his family. His mother says that's impossible. Little does she know, in the past, Vito is now a respected Don. He dresses well and solves community problems. A woman asks for help because her landlord is going to evict her. Vito talks to the building owner who laughs in his face. But as soon as the man discovers who Don Corleone is, he not only gives the apartment back to the woman, but lowers the rent. That's the power of the name. Back in the 50s courtroom, Michael denies everything. The problem is, Pentangeli's temper is alive and ready to snitch on everything about Michael. At home, Fredo admits he passed info to Roth, but swears he didn't know they would try to kill his brother. Michael cuts ties right there. He says Fredo is no longer his brother, and he never wants to see him again. Heavy stuff. On the day of Pentangeli's final testimony, Michael arrives at court with a trump card, an unknown old man. Pentangeli locks eyes with the old man and freezes. It's his brother, flown in directly from Sicily. Just his brother's presence makes Pentangeli change his story and deny everything, saving Michael's skin. At the hotel, Kay asks who the man was. Michael dodges the question. Kay then drops the final bomb. She's leaving with the children. Michael tries to stop her, but she reveals she didn't have a miscarriage at all. It was an abortion because she didn't want to bring another son into this cursed family. Michael snaps and punches his wife in the face. The marriage is officially over.
I wouldn't bring another one of your sons into this world. Oh.
In the past, Vito returns to Sicily with his family. He visits old friends and finally settles the score with Don Ciccio. He avenges his father, mother, and brother by killing the decrepit old boss. The circle is closed. Back in the 50s, Mama Corleone dies. At the funeral, Connie appears more mature, asks Michael for forgiveness, and says she wants to stay close to the family. She tries to get Michael to forgive Fredo. Michael relents and hugs his brother, but while embracing him, he shoots a glance at his henchman that signifies a death sentence. It's soul-chilling. The finale is a clean sweep, Godfather style. Michael finds out Roth is returning to Miami because no country would grant him asylum. Tom suggests letting it go since the old man is sick and dying, but Michael wants blood. Roth is assassinated at the airport. In prison, Tom visits Pentangeli and implies that would be the only honorable way out to save his family. Pentangeli gets the message and kills himself in the bathtub. At home, Michael sees Kay visiting the children in secret. He shuts the door in her face without mercy. And then, the saddest scene, Fredo is fishing on the lake with Michael's henchman. He's praying a Hail Mary to try and catch a fish. The sound of a gunshot echoes across the lake. The brother has been eliminated. The movie ends with Michael alone, sitting in the garden.
Blessed art thou amongst women.
He remembers his father's birthday in 1941. In the memory, all the brothers are at the table. Michael announces he enlisted in the army to fight in the war, going against the plans his father had for him. Sonny gets furious. Tom tries to argue. Fredo offers mild support. When the father arrives, everyone runs to sing happy birthday, and Michael remains alone at the table. His loneliness isn't new. It was always there. The final shot shows Michael in the 50s, aged, powerful, but completely alone on a park bench. The price of power was everything he had. In the third movie, we jump to 1979, and the situation has completely changed for the Corleone family. That legendary compound in Lake Tahoe, abandoned, left to rot. Michael Corleone has decided to return to his roots in New York, but with a very different goal this time. He wants to clean the family slate and make everything legitimate. No more crimes, just honest business, or at least that's what he says. To prove he's a new man, he establishes the Vito Corleone Foundation, a massive charity. It's such a serious endeavor that there's a fancy ceremony at St. Patrick's Cathedral, where Michael himself receives a medal from the Order of St. Sebastian. It's got that whole "look at me, I'm a respectable citizen now" vibe. In the audience, we see Kay. She's moved on and even remarried, but she's there standing strong with the children she had with Michael, Anthony, and Mary. It all looks beautiful, but rich family parties are complicated, and there's always drama. At the lavish reception following the church service, Anthony drops a bombshell on his father. The kid tells him point blank that he's quitting law school. His dream? To become an opera singer. Michael naturally isn't too keen on the idea of having an artist's son instead of a lawyer, but Kay steps in to defend the boy. This sparks that classic tense argument between the ex-couple in a private corner, away from the guests. While Michael tries to control his son's future, the past comes knocking, literally. Enter Vincent Mancini. He is Sonny Corleone's illegitimate son and has inherited all of his father's explosive temper. The guy arrives right in the eye of the storm, involved in a heavy feud with a mobster named Joey Zasa. This Zasa now runs the Corleone's old neighborhood in New York and has turned the place into a lawless territory. Vincent and Zasa are taken to a room away from the party to try and settle the matter with Michael serving as judge. The conversation starts civilized, but quickly goes south. The tension rises, tempers flare, and in a moment of pure madness, Vincent bites Zasa's ear. That's right, pulling a Mike Tyson ahead of its time. After this display of diplomacy, Vincent asks his uncle for a job. Michael, seeing that his nephew has potential and that it's dangerous to leave him running loose, agrees to take the young man under his wing. He plans to teach the kid to be less of a hothead and more of a strategist, but the peace is short-lived. That same night, two hitmen sent by Zasa break into Vincent's house. Bad idea. Vincent not only defends himself, but dispatches both of them to the other side. The message is clear. Messing with this guy is a death wish. While dealing with his problematic family, Michael Michael has his eye on a gigantically ambitious deal. He wants to buy Immobiliari, an international real estate company controlled by the Vatican. The plan is to transfer $600 million to Archbishop Dilday. Why would the Archbishop accept? Because the man has sunk the Holy See into absurd debt through terrible management and some corrupt dealings within the Vatican Bank. Basically, Michael is paying the church's bills to buy Legitimacy. However, upon arriving in Vatican City, Michael realizes it won't be that easy. There are powerful people inside who oppose the deal. Ratifying the agreement is going to be much more complicated than he imagined. It's that classic moment where the protagonist realizes he left the street mafia only to enter a mafia that is even bigger and older. Back in the United States, things aren't calm either. Don Altobello, an old-school mobster and friend of the family, warns Michael that their old partners in New York are eyeing the Immobiliari deal greedily. They want a slice of the pie. To sort this out, they set up a meeting in Atlantic City. Michael arrives like a rich Santa Claus and hands out generous payouts to most of the mobsters, using money from the casino days to settle nerves. Everyone is reasonably happy, except one, Joey Zasa. The guy gets nothing, zero. Furious and humiliated, Zasa declares war right there in front of everyone. He screams that Michael is his enemy and says anyone staying in the room has to pick a side. After that little scene, he storms out, and that is where Michael's survival instinct should have rung louder. Minutes after Zasa leaves, the sound of a helicopter starts getting very loud. The chopper hovers outside the conference room and suddenly opens fire through the windows. It's an insane rain of bullets. The place turns into Swiss cheese. Almost everyone who was at the meeting dies instantly. It's a massacre, but Michael and Vincent manage to escape. Vincent, showing absurd loyalty, acts as a human shield to protect his uncle. They make it out alive, but the stress is so immense that Michael's body pays the price. While trying to process what just happened and plan a counterattack, he suffers a diabetic stroke and ends up straight in the hospital.
That's it.
While the boss is out of commission, the family dynamic gets weird. Vincent and Mary start getting romantically involved. The detail here is that they are first cousins, but that doesn't seem to be a problem for them right now. Vincent's focus, however, isn't just romance, it's vengeance. Zasa thought he had gotten rid of the Corleones, but Vincent sets up a plan. During a street festival amidst the crowd and the celebration, Vincent and his associates surround Zasa. With no chance to defend himself, the mobster and his bodyguards are eliminated right there. Street justice has been served. When Michael finds out about this in the hospital, he is livid. He didn't give the order to kill Zasa and yells at Vincent, but his nephew defends himself, saying the green light came from Connie. That's right, Michael's sister is now in up to her neck in the family business, making life or death decisions. Michael, always pragmatic, demands that Vincent end the relationship with Mary. He knows that life in the mafia puts any romantic partner in the line of fire, and he doesn't want his daughter in danger because of his nephew. Vincent, wanting to prove his loyalty, agrees. But, cut to the next scene. The whole family moves to Sicily. The official reason is to continue pursuing the Vatican deal and watch Anthony's opera debut. The unofficial reason? To continue the scheming. And of course, despite the promise, the romance between Vincent and Mary continues in secret. In Sicily, Michael devises a master strategy. He orders Vincent to seek out Don Altobello and pretend to be disgruntled. The idea is to make Vincent look like a traitor who wants out of the Corleone family, to see if Altobello takes the bait and reveals his true allegiances. The plan works like a charm. Altobello supports the idea of Vincent switching sides, and thinking he's gained a new ally, introduces the young man to the true villain of this whole story, Lucchese. He is the powerful man pulling the strings behind the scenes to stop Michael from buying Immobiliari. While Vincent plays double agent, Michael tends to his soul. He visits Cardinal Lamberto, a priest who genuinely seems to be a good, pious man. Lamberto convinces Michael to do something he hasn't done in 30 years. Confess. It's a heavy moment. Michael unburdens himself of decades of sins and crimes, and in the end, Lamberto absolves him. It seems like a huge weight is lifted off his shoulders. Riding this wave of renewal, Michael and Kay take a tour of Sicily. She went there to see her son sing, and the tension between the two softens. Michael asks for her forgiveness as well. In a rare moment of vulnerability, both admit they still love each other. But since a mobster's happiness is short-lived, reality kicks down the door. Michael receives the news that his old Sicilian friend, Don Thomas Saracino, has been murdered. The message is clear. A new round of violence is about to begin. Amidst this tension, some good news. Cardinal Lamberto is elected Pope John Paul I. Since he is a friend of Michael, this means the Immobiliare deal will likely be approved. However, Vincent returns with hot intel from the enemy side. He tells Michael that Lucchese is the mastermind behind everything, and worse, they have hired a professional assassin to kill Michael. Vincent, out for blood, wants to attack immediately. Michael, tired of so much war, asks for caution. He warns that if they go through with this revenge plan, there will be no turning back. But Vincent insists. Seeing there is no other way and that he needs someone with energy to handle this dirty work, Michael relents. But on one supreme condition, Michael decides to retire and pass the torch. He names Vincent the new head of the Corleone family. Vincent becomes the new Godfather, but the price for this promotion is high. He has to break up with Mary for real, permanently. No more dating the ex-boss's daughter. Vincent accepts the pact, power in exchange for love. The night of the grand premiere arrives. Anthony takes the lead role in the opera Cavalleria Rusticana. While his son sings on stage, Vincent's revenge plan goes into action in real life. It's that classic montage, scenes from the opera intercut with brutal assassinations. Vincent's henchmen eliminate the enemies one by one. Lucchese, Altobello, and their associates are killed in creative and violent ways, but the enemies play dirty too. They had already poisoned the new pope. Michael's political victory is short-lived, and the danger is still lurking at the opera. The assassin hired to kill Michael is there, lying in wait. He manages to kill several of Vincent's men, but the opera ends before he gets the chance to shoot the main target. On the way out, the tension explodes. The assassin retreats to the steps of the opera house facade and attempts one last shot at Michael. In the confusion, Mary is trying to talk to her father, upset about the forced breakup with Vincent. It is the tragic moment. She steps in front of Michael right as the shot is fired. The bullet meant for the father hits the daughter. Mary falls. The assassin is killed immediately after, but the damage is done. Michael holds his dead daughter in his arms and lets out a scream of pain and fury that echoes on the opera steps. It is the sound of a man who has lost the only thing he was trying to protect all this time. The final scene is desolate. Cut to many years later, we see a white-haired Michael, very old and alone, sitting in the garden of his villa in Sicily. There is no glamour, no family around. He simply slumps in his chair and dies. Alone, forgotten, paying the ultimate price for a life of crime. And so ends the saga.